Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Reckles with WTBGold, and today we are talking about how to farm Cataclysm herbs. I was gonna do just like a Cinderbloom farming guide, something like that, but honestly, I figured y'all would probably not appreciate it if I put out pretty much 10 different videos talking about the same thing. So, let's do this guide. Okay, so the 6 types of herbs we'll be looking at are the 4 common Cataclysm herbs. We've got Cinderbloom, Heartblossom, Stormvine, and Whiptail, along with the 2 rare herbs. We've got Twilight Jasmine and Azshara's Veil. So why farm all this? Wouldn't it be better to just fill up the auction house with Starlight Rose? Well, you may not get as much gold per hour with old content stuff, but you'll end up getting more gold per day, especially if your gatherer is your only toon. So if you post more Starlight Rose than your server's auction house demands, you're only gonna tank the market, right? And you're actually, because of that, gonna make less than if you spent your extra time, once you fill the auction house up, if you spend that extra time farming Cata or Lich King or Pandaria stuff. As far as Cata herbs specifically, people buy them for alchemy, which uses them for Cata level flasks and transmutes, along with the potion of treasure finding. So, let's be real, pretty much just a potion of treasure finding. The noteworthy thing here is that potion only uses the 4 basic herbs and doesn't use any of the 2 rare ones, so it's better to just focus on those. Inscriptionists also use these herbs for black fallow ink glyphs, and a few decent transmogs like the Rosethorn Staff and the Key to the Plains, which will sell for 5k or 10k, somewhere around there. And finally, all the Cataclysm Herbalism nodes we're going to be talking about have a 1/3 chance to drop 2, 3, or 4 herbs each, so an average of 3. The nodes are pretty spread out compared to what you may be used to. So 1, you're not going to get a ton of herbs here. And 2, there are much better places to level Herbalism from 1 to 800 if you're just starting. Specifically, go to Valley of the Four Winds. I got a guide here. And finally, I get the question a lot, how much should I farm? This question actually takes a bit to answer, so I went over it in a separate video, which you can also find right here. Or in the description. I don't know, YouTube changed their annotation system. Alright, so let's get into it. Cataclysm was all about the elements and being really boring with fire-sounding names. So, we had Ember Silk and Volatile Fire and Blackened Dragon Scales. So let's stick with that theme and start off with Cinderbloom, which blooms from cinders. You can find it in any of the pockets of land that Deathwing or Ragnaros has burned during the Cataclysm. Over the past year, the prices have risen from 3 gold to its current 10 gold each, so I like to focus on this herb, and interestingly, since Cata was the first expansion to really use phasing on a large scale, some places like the Inferno in western Mount Hyjal have Cinderbloom initially, but then when you quest some, the Inferno phases into the regrowth and the land is healed and the Cinderbloom stops spawning. Doesn't make a huge difference, but it's worth mentioning if you get out there and you're like, where's my Cinderbloom? So there are 2 routes I'm going to recommend, but I like the first one because it's more time efficient. Head out to Mount Hyjal and follow this route. You'll get Stormvine from the higher grassy areas, Cinderbloom from the southern burned fire areas, and pro tip, swing by all the lakes for just a little bit extra Azshara's Veil, which is selling for 50 gold each right now. The next route is more Cinderbloom focused, and we're heading over to Deepholm, which isn't on fire actually, but it's the home of Deathwing, so I don't know, I guess it counts? Also, Deepholm is the heart of Azeroth, and is therefore the only place that Heartblossom spawns. So I'm just gonna lump Heartblossom farming in with this route. Bam! Gold guide time saving. There are a ton of herb nodes here, and what you want to do is kind of this horseshoe thing to hit them all, but make sure every lap for sure passes by the northwest part of the map. Also, there's ore all over the place, and you're pretty much just running around in a circle, so this is great if you also have mining. Alright, next let's look at Stormvine. Stormvine spawns wherever there are big storms, so obviously we're gonna go underwater to Azshara. Make sure you do the intro quest to get water breathing and a seahorse mount, or just cheat and be a druid. While the Abyssal Depths and the Shimmering Expanse have about the same amount of Herbalism nodes, just go to the Shimmering Expanse. I like this one because it not only has more Azshara's Veil nodes, but it closely follows where the Rains of Poseidon spawn. And that mount is selling for about 1 million gold right now. So it's definitely worth hanging around where it might maybe possibly spawn. This route in Abyssal Depths works too if you have competition in Shimmering Expanse. And finally, guys, whether you like underwater zones in video games or not, head out here because this zone is beautiful. And let's move on to Whiptail. Whiptail is a reed that spawns in Oldham. I guess where there are Egyptian-themed slave masters. So whip makes sense? I don't know. Anyway, we have 2 routes here. One is super simple and focuses just on Whiptail. Just follow the banks of the river and just do one big lap. And if you want to optimize for force spawns, every 3rd or 4th lap, head over to the water south of Neferset so you can clean up the stragglers. The second focuses more on gold per hour and includes Cinderbloom. For this one, you want to include Neferset in every lap, and you want to loop around the Obelisk of the Moon and the Oasis of Virsar. That's where the flight path is in the northwest. You won't get as much Whiptail, but here you're multitasking. You'll get more herbs. Also, just as a heads up, the nodes kind of lag here. Like, they don't appear until you get really close to them. So it's part of that whole phasing thing. It was new. So just make sure you zoom out of your mini-map or gathering hut or whatever so you don't just completely fly by where the nodes spawn. All right, Twilight Jasmine. Twilight Jasmine, isn't even being clever. They just named it after the spawn point, Twilight Highlands. This doesn't spawn often, and the spawn depends on your phase. So even though there's a whole ton of nodes, I'd only recommend farming this if you're heading out on a dual gatherer and focusing primarily on Elementium or Pyrite, and you'll just get some Twilight Jasmine kind of as a secondary bonus. You might also want to farm out here if you checked your auction house and it's selling for 15 or 20 gold. I didn't actually test this or really any of the nodes here because it's super variable. Because of the phasing thing, my results aren't going to be anywhere near your results because we're at different stages of the quest. So I don't want to set your expectations. Anyway, but let's finish up and move on to Azshara's Veil. Azshara's Veil is found primarily in water because Azshara is the goddess of the water and is currently selling for about 50 gold each. It's not a rare spawn of the other flowers like most of World of Warcraft rare gatherables. It has its own node spawns, but it's just that there aren't a lot of those nodes. So if you have water walking, the best route, that is if you're a Death Knight, a Warlock, a Shaman, or Druid, then head out to Tolbarad. Start at Welson Shipyard, follow the river around and explore the Cape of Lost Hope, and then either turn around and follow the river back or just run across Farson Hold. Competition kills this spot, so if someone else is there or if you don't have water walking, just go to the Azshara route we talked about with Stormvine. And also in 7.1 they buffed water mounts, so you might want to consider going out here rather than Azshara if you have the turtle or anything like that. That's it though. Make sure you like this video if it was helpful, and subscribe if you haven't so you get more videos in the future. I was thinking what material farming guide I should do next, and I thought I'd just ask y'all. So down in the description there's a straw poll, so go vote for what farming guide you want to see next. I'll see you guys later.